Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking some time out today in your day to attend our webinar on virtual agent strategies in solving customer problems. My name's Selena. I'm here to help you with anything you may need during this webinar. We're just going to wait a few more minutes for a few more people to join, but just to do a little bit of housekeeping, I'm here joined today by Tim Farrell and our customer Dave Rowley from Direct Line Group. Before we do start going into the presentations, I would just like to do a little bit, like I said, housekeeping. So on your right-hand side, you will see a panel for GoToWebinar. And if you have any troubleshooting issues or if you have any problems throughout the webinar, there's a hand icon. If you click on that hand icon, I can come and help you, be it audio, visual, whatever it may be. Also, we're going to be inviting you to ask questions throughout the whole of the webinar. So there's again, on your panel on the right-hand side, there's a question section. Please feel free to ask as many questions that you may have, and we'll do our best to answer as many as we can towards the end of the webinar. For any of those that we haven't been able to ask, we will get directly in touch with you. And just to let everyone know that these webinars are recorded, you will be able to get a recording as well after this webinar. Okay, so now I'll just like you to hand you over to Tim Farrell from Sabio.
Thanks. Hi there, my name is Dave Rowley, so I'm from Direct Line Group. Just a bit of background on Direct Line Group. So we are one of the biggest insurance companies in the country. We've got a number of recognizable brands such as Direct Line Insurance, Churchill Insurance, Privilege Insurance, and Green Flag Rescue. So my role within the business is I'm responsible for our AI strategy and the implementation of AI within our business.
Thanks, Dave. So now we'll have a look at what a virtual agent is. So a few of you who have attended some of the in-person sessions I've led and some of the other webinars that we've done, you may have seen this slide. Essentially, a virtual agent is an operational tool with a lot of technology behind it. It comes in various different guises, the first of which is a Contact Us deflector. So as it says on the tin, it deflects people from your Contact Us page and puts them into a virtual agent instead. Gives some opportunities to deflect visitors, keeping contact options available for customers who do need them. So that's one of the types of virtual agent we'll be exploring today, which Direct Line Group have deployed. Second type is a concierge bot. So the concierge bot, like a real concierge, it's there 24 hours a day, always available, really easy to consume, and it just sits on the web page. That's another type of virtual agent we'll be looking at today as well. FAQ replacement we've covered in previous sessions, but essentially what the FAQ replacement does is it puts a virtual agent or a chatbot on your FAQ page. Because if you think about FAQs, a lot of FAQs are not actually frequently asked questions. They've just been made up in a couple of meetings some years ago, difficult to search, not much about coming from them. So a lot of organizations are starting to explore chatbots and how that can work with an FAQ type strategy. And then finally, the problem resolver. So there's dedicated use cases here, things like password resets, processing a warranty claim, even doing technical troubleshooting, taking the user through a set number of specific steps in order to get to a successful outcome. So in summary, the virtual agent is an operational tool. It's all of the above. And today we will have a look in a bit more detail at the Contact Us deflector and the concierge bot. So just moving on to the Contact Us deflector, we call it the intelligent way of deflecting customer queries. If we take a look at the evolution of Contact Us pages over the years, we look at this page probably from the early noughties, very little deflection attempt here. You've got a sales phone number and a live chat link for support. It's very easy for the customer, but all the customer will do, or the potential customer will do, is make a phone call or live chat with the organization. So it's not really effective at stopping unwanted and unnecessary contact. Moving on to the second option, so this is a bit more recent, and this is a mobile phone network here in the UK, and I can see what they're doing here. On the right hand side, you've got a wall of phone numbers. Towards the left, you've got what might be termed as FAQs. In reality, they are probably more what the organization wants to share with that particular customer base rather than what customers are actually interested in. And I know of me as a consumer, I'm seeing that page, I'm just going to pick up the phone. And then we look at the end state for the Contact Us page, and this is what Direct Line have deployed here. They've deployed their virtual agent on the Contact Us page, and it's simply you go to Contact Us and there it is. We'll take a look at that in a moment, but the idea is being able to strike that balance between automated customer service and also being easy to do business with by providing contact options. And it is easy to use. You go to that page, you can type your question. So let's have a look at a demo of how their Contact Us page works. Okay, so first of all, this is a Contact Us page. Let's ask her a simple question. So in this case, we're asking about something quite topical, the coronavirus. Believe it or not, a large number of people at Direct Line in their customer base, they've got flights to China being cancelled and elsewhere in the Asia Pacific region. Now, the reason I've shown this one is because we work with different insurers, we work with different organizations in different sectors like logistics and so on. And at Sabio, we have this helicopter view of what these organizations are experiencing, their challenges and so on. And when I first saw this at one of our logistics clients, we solved it for that client, but then I spoke to Dave and said, well, look, you're starting to see some contacting about the coronavirus. Let's get something quickly into the virtual assistant. We did something quite similar with Brexit last year as well. Just before the Easter holidays, there was going to be this no deal Brexit scenario, people asking about green cards and travel cover in the event of flights being cancelled. And Direct Line have always been very, very willing and able to react quickly to changing scenarios and create new content for us. Okay, so the next thing we will look at is just something a bit more complex here. So in this scenario, the user comes in and says, bought a new Mercedes to replace my Ford. So two vehicle manufacturers, Mercedes and Ford, they've not specified it's a car or anything like that. But essentially, the customer here is looking to replace their vehicle. They've bought a new vehicle. Now, we know that Mercedes and Ford both do different types of cars and different types of vans as well. So we do ask a clarification question. Well, hang on, what kind of policy is it you hold with Direct Line? So we'll choose car in this example, and we check, well, when's the cover going to start from? So I'm at the dealership, I'm going to say within the next couple of hours, and then we go through an eligibility check. So in this eligibility check, we make sure there's no modifications, it's not a high value vehicle, anything like that. And when we click yes, we get taken through to a self-service form option right here. So that's kind of showing a simple use case on that Contact Us page. If you think of these users contacting Direct Line about coronavirus, absolutely no need to make a phone call there. They're given the advice. Same with changing a vehicle. Right, here's a form. Let's do it online. Very easy to do. So Dave, a couple of questions, if I may. So the Contact Us page, that was where you put the virtual agent first on your website. What prompted that selection of the page versus anywhere else, for example?
Yeah, I think as a business, we recognized there was a significant opportunity to support customers online by putting something on the Contact Us page. I think we were kind of aware that there's a proportion of customers that maybe are kind of adamant that they want to speak to somebody, so they kind of navigate to the contact us page and look for phone numbers and give us a call. There's also another population of customers that will kind of really proactively look for content on the website, and really calling us or chatting to us is probably a last resort. But there's a big chunk of customers in the middle there whereby actually they're open to kind of self-serving online, but actually they're not kind of proactively looking for that content. So we knew there was an opportunity to intercept, I guess, those customers that are visiting the contact us page, going there as the easy option to find the number, phone number or a contact strategy to get a hold of us. So we're not forcing customers there to chat to us, or, to self-serve or to kind of use the responses that we're signposting, but we really wanted just to kind of make them aware of the self-service options available to us. And we saw instantly a good benefit by enabling customers to kind of navigate to some of our self-serve portals, or simply just giving answers to really simple FAQs at that point.
Thanks, Dave. And when you went live with the virtual agent on the Contact Us page, obviously as an insurance company, you know that some of the top drivers for contact are going to be things like cancellations, renewals, making changes, things like that. But how did you get to a point of identifying what those top drivers were, and then also all these little questions that people ask every so often?
Yeah, so first of all, I guess as you mentioned, we've got some self-serve options on the website, which I guess first and foremost we wanted to promote, because we've got some journeys where customers can go on and change their policies online. So we wanted to signpost them first, but also we could see there was an opportunity to deflect a whole host of customer queries that we were seeing elsewhere. So we did a lot of preparation prior to going live. So we used a number of different systems to really understand what our customers were asking us. So we kind of took the data from, for example, our web chat solution, really looked at what customers were asking us there. We looked at our speech and data technology to, again, understand what customers were calling us about. And things like our knowledge articles, we kind of looked at what the most frequently used knowledge articles were within our business, and all of that was to kind of paint a picture of what our customers were asking, and that really led us to understand what content we needed to create. So I think upfront we were able to firstly identify, I guess, 80–90% of the real big areas or the big kind of topics customers were asking us about. But more than that, we were also able to really identify the grammar to be associated with those responses. So, we were able to kind of really look at how customers were asking those different responses, and all of that enabled us to really get in a good position before we went live.
Yeah, and I think one of the key benefits in that deployment process, just on the grammar, was the example sentences from your live chat solution. So we're able to take example sentences of the way that real people ask these questions, and we're able to bootstrap the virtual agent so that it had a good basic knowledge of those things, and that really helps you get going. But just where we are today, we're about 18 months or so into your journey with the virtual agent on the Contact Us page. Talk me through the stats that you're seeing here, some benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, I guess the first thing to emphasize, and I know you've mentioned it already, Tim, but I guess what we're trying to do here is to provide an alternative for customers to find responses, to try and make it a better customer journey, to make it easier for our customers to get the content they really need. I guess at no point are we trying to really hide or stop customers from getting a contact option if they want to. We're signposting that they can get that option, but very much trying to signpost what the alternative is for those customers. And what we've seen since we've put that the virtual assistant in place is we've seen of the customers kind of interacting with the virtual assistant, we're seeing that 17% of those customers are asking for a contact option. So that's customers that are asking for either a phone number or they're asking for web chat at that point. What we are also seeing is around 38% of customers are being triaged through the virtual assistant and offered a contact option. So that's kind of where we feel like we're in a good place with that. I think 38%. Yeah, we again, going back to an earlier point, we absolutely don't want to stop our customers from getting a phone number. We've also kind of identified a number of use cases where actually we don't want to enable the customer to self-serve, and we can see that there is some value to speak to that customer to support them in their query. You know, I guess as an example, if we look at vulnerable customers or where we have policyholders that maybe have passed away, you know, we often want to speak to those customers because we think it's a better journey and we can add value as part of that conversation. So yeah, 38% we're quite comfortable with. And then looking at kind of the fully automated side of it, we've got 37% of conversations that happen within the VA that are entirely handled, so entirely automated, which again, you know, we're seeing really good benefits there. Some of those are relatively simple FAQs, but it's a good success story at the minute.
Sure, thanks, Dave. And I think a lot of these numbers, they're very much dependent on the organization that's deploying a virtual agent and what strategy you want to employ. So taking that 38% triage, you think of the bereavement process and vulnerable customers, people who maybe can't pay for whatever reason. If you're direct line, you're very much customer focused. You want to speak to that customer, guide them through the process. If you're somebody like Netflix, for example, you're just going to put a button on there that says cancel my subscription. So it's all very much dependent on what organization you are and the different strategy. Similarly with the contact options as well. So this VA, this virtual agent, was put on a contact us page. As Dave says, it's not about stopping all customer contact, it's stopping some. But on other pages, for example, you might want to adopt a different strategy on sales. You might even want to be more aggressive and get people to an agent, for example, to close a deal. So it's all very much dependent on how you want to run and strategize this. But thank you for that, Dave. The next one we will look at is a demo of the concierge bot. So this is the concierge bot, and what we can see here is this is deployed currently on Direct Line's sign-in page, and the intention is to do things like help customers retrieve passwords, but also answer simple questions as well. We've got some really fascinating stats on this too. So let's open up the concierge bot. So this is the concierge bot. You can see instantly it's a bit different. So hi, I'm a concierge. What do you need help with? And we've got a few options here, but for now I'm just going to say I forgot my password. So you can see here what we're doing is we're going through a number of steps. So this is more the troubleshooting type of process in that here's step 1, step 2, and so on. So you can see, first of all, we actually make sure they've typed in the correct password. A lot of problems are due to user error. Then the next step, if that's failed, what we then do is we go through the password reset process, and that involves going to a link and helping the customer to reset their password. And there have been some beneficial steps there, Dave, as well, haven't we? We've seen, is it like 60% deflection or success rate on this particular one?
Yep, yeah, absolutely. There's been some great success on this. So we are seeing I think it's around a 60% drop off on customers who were supporting through that part of the journey.
Yeah, when we did some further analysis as well, what we actually saw is that the people we couldn't help were people who maybe didn't have access to their old email address anymore. So we would have helped them. It's just that they couldn't get access to that email address. So it was a bit problematic. So so we did all we can. But also what we saw there as well was that quite a number of people asking basic questions to the concierge bot as well. So if you imagine this as a sign-in page, let's ask a basic question. And this is quite representative of what we've seen on this page as well. So just checking if my policy covers theft of tools from my shed. So you can see here the type of question that's being offered or being asked by the user is it's a policy related question. So you can imagine how the users got to this page. They've said, right, I want to read my policy documents and see am I covered for theft of tools from the shed? And instantly they've been able to go to that page, and without needing to log in, remember their username and password, scroll through 15 or 20 pages of policy wording, they ask the virtual agent and she responds with an answer, and that will help that customer. That particular example we did see went away happy with that answer. So, so from that point of view, it's been quite successful. So from your point of view, Dave, we've obviously deployed this. It's been in a number of months now, doing password resets and also simple question handling as well. Have you seen the benefits you were expecting here?
Yeah, we certainly have. I mean, we looked at implementing the virtual assistant in this form because we could see that we could really support with support customers through journeys maybe where they were kind of struggling, or we were seeing drop out to for example web chat and kind of queries around how queries to assist them through certain processes. And yeah, we've definitely seen a benefit, and the results on this have been really positive. I think much better than maybe I expected they would be. So yeah, as an example, we've had certainly an increased interaction on this page versus what we had before. So if we compare the number of customers that would have previously had a human interaction, a web chat, we've got an uplift of interactions on that page by around 250%. So 250% are now, more customers are interacting with a virtual assistant than would have previously done with web chat, which is a real positive. And that's not that the web chat wasn't available. We had really good availability of web chat. It simply appears to be that customers seem to be more comfortable engaging the virtual assistant than maybe they previously were with engaging a web chat. So from that element of it, really positive. And then obviously we're triaging customers through the process. So we're trying to support them, as kind of Tim's demonstrated, through that journey to allow them to self-serve wherever possible. But there's still some circumstances where we actually still need to speak to that customer. But again, successful story here. We're kind of seeing that the volume of customers that then need to go on to speak to a consultant is reduced drastically. So I think we've got an 84% reduction in the volume of customers who are then getting through to web chat. So all in all, it's been really successful from our perspective, and I think we've added real value to the customer journey there as well.
Yeah, and just to add to that, if you look at what we went through there, just that process of asking the question, getting an answer, it's super easy to do business with. You don't need to make a phone call, go through an IVR, speak to somebody, take time out your day. Even web chat, you don't need to click a button, go into the web chat queue and go through that whole, hi and how's your day going and all that. It's simple question and answer. So it's really effortless to do business with. You don't need to worry about weekends, out of hours, overnight. So somebody on night shift, maybe they're doing their insurance business on night shift. Well, you might be closed. So the virtual agent will handle the queries. But like we said with the Contact Us Deflector, there's different strategies here as well. So this is on a sign-in page, and primarily it's here to resolve the problem of password resets, but it can also handle the simple things too. If you think about putting something like this in different site areas, maybe you can process warranty claims or returns in a signed-in area. Maybe you're processing some other kind of troubleshooting thing as well. So if you're maybe like a TV provider or mobile phone network, then there's the option to help the customer go through troubleshooting steps, and that can all be context dependent depending on where the user is on your website. So lots of different strategies here, but the key part to remember is that even though you may deploy it with a particular strategy on one particular page, it will answer anything you throw at it because it's intelligent. Okay, and we'll just flip back to the slides now. So, Dave and his team have been doing quite a lot of work on optimizing the virtual agent, what's coming next. We've been giving some assistance with that. So do you want to talk us through the next steps in your virtual agent's evolution, Dave?
Yeah, certainly. So, so on I guess if we we can see that there's opportunity to use the this version of the virtual assistant in lots of different places. I think the next kind of stage, if we look at the sign in page as an example, we've got it there as kind of a help tool where customers kind of need assistance and kind of instigate that engagement with the virtual assistant. I think the next step for us is using that in a more proactive manner, so we can definitely see the opportunity to enable customers, or I guess engage with customers where we're seeing they're having issues as opposed to them instigating that conversation. So if we look at the sign-in page as an example, for example, if a customer puts a incorrect email address or password in there, then the website throws up an error. So we are looking to see where we can kind of instigate a proactive conversation. So pop the VA up when the error message appears there, so we can really engage with the customer when we know they're having issues and guide them through that process. So we can definitely see some value from that element of it. The other kind of area that we're looking to do and we've kind of identified is we can see that there's a big proportion of, I guess, conversations that are happening on our website with human consultants that don't necessarily need to happen. So they're not necessarily value-adding conversations. So we get a number of web chats, for example, where the customer doesn't need to identify themselves. They're just general policy queries that could be automated and handled by the virtual assistant. So I think the next stage is to effectively enable us to triage all of those conversations, to remove the option for customers to get directly to, for example, web chat. Again, as I've kind of mentioned earlier, we're not stopping customers from getting a web chat, and that's not our intention at all. But it enables us to triage those customers and really signpost what the opportunities or what the options are for them to enable them to self-serve or provide the answer to the queries. And we see the benefit there as twofold. We see it as a much improved customer journey for those that want an answer and don't need to speak to us. It's quicker to get their answer there. But also, it reduces the number of unnecessary web chats. And again, we see that as a benefit for both the customer and also our business as well.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. It's all really exciting, the work we're doing with you on this to help reduce these chats and basically allow the humans to focus on those complex and high value transactions, helping to convert a sale or resolve a very difficult problem. I think in terms of this particular example here, we've included the Churchill Insurance Telematics page, telematics being a black box insurance product. Just as an example here, the user to that website, maybe they're exploring telematics insurance, but when they use the virtual agent on that page, maybe the query is about something completely different than telematics. So it will handle the telematics queries, but it will also handle anything else that the user throws at it as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to working on that with Dave over the coming 12 months or so. So I think that's all we have in terms of slides today. Now, a couple more things. So Selena's just told me that there's been quite a positive response to the poll we put up a few minutes ago. Are you able to share those results, Selena?
That's right, Tim. So I'm just going to share it for everyone. So we asked where would you deploy your virtual agent, and we can see quite a lot of you, 82% in fact, actually said on the contact center page, and the remaining said in the troubleshooting section. Is that surprising for you, or is that what you expect?
So I think certainly the contact us page is the most obvious one, because that's probably where a lot of the traffic goes to, the contact us pages. I've seen a lot of organizations where they've kind of almost gone backwards, and rather than having the contact us page, they've got a help and support page. And if you look hard enough, then there's a contact us link somewhere at the bottom, but you try and go through all these steps and find an answer, and it's usually or quite often not helpful. Amazon's particularly bad for this, in that they make that contact thing really difficult to find. And it's really frustrating as a user. So I think the contact us page is the first logical place to deploy it. In terms of the troubleshooting aspect, I didn't expect that one to be so high. We've obviously deployed it with Direct Line Group for a particular use case of password resets and looking to do some other things as well. We have done a lot of work with organizations in the IT service desk sector, and what they're using it for is technical troubleshooting, the likes of Windows problems, Outlook isn't working, my mobile phone isn't working, and it takes the user through a number of steps. And if that can't be resolved, then it will log a ticket with the organization's ticketing system for a second line engineer to look at and get some help with. So it's certainly something we've got experience with, and I think I'd love to know more about what you guys are envisaging help needed for this one.
Brilliant, thank you. Actually, that's really interesting actually to see. So yeah, lovely.
Cool, thank you, Selena. So just one more final point before we start taking some questions. So at Sabio, we've got an event coming up in March, and Selena will talk through it.
Yes, of course, no problem. So we are actually having our event on the 17th of March. So it's our Disrupt CX 2020. We have done one in 2019 and 2017. So it's our flagship event. So if you have any questions or you're interested in finding out more or want to see our demos live in person, come to the brewery on the 17th of March and event.
Awesome. I know I'm looking forward to being there and finding out all the latest and greatest from the panelists. So get registered and find out more, and hopefully we can talk more about virtual agents on the day. But now, just any questions from anybody that's come in, and we will be happy to answer those. Please either address them to myself or Dave or to either of us, and we're happy to take those. Have we got any already, Selena?
Yes, actually, I can see quite a few coming through. So I've got one from Dan, and this is aimed towards Tim. Does your chatbot support transactional journey conversationally, so you don't need to send them out to a form?
It does, yeah. Yeah, exactly that. So as I mentioned earlier with the IT service desk organizations, in those organizations, then traditionally you'd go to a form on the IT service portal, you'd log an incident or log a request, and somebody would look at it. In the virtual agents that we've deployed in that sector, what the agent does is triage it, work out what the problem is, and then we're logging tickets directly into the appropriate queue or assignment group for a resolving person to deal with. So we've done that quite successfully in that space. In the consumer space, there's quite a lot of things that we're looking at and working on, and the idea being, let's take changing a vehicle, for example, or even changing a price plan or changing a TV package. Then the user comes into the VA, and then the virtual agent takes the details, works out what it is, tells the user the price, and then completes it all within the virtual agent. So, potentially there might be a need to log in, but ultimately the virtual agent handles it, no handoff to a form or whatever else. And what this really sets us up for is a future, whether it be a year from now or 2 years from now, where people are coming in and talking to your brand via channels such as WhatsApp or Messenger or indeed any other social network or even SMS, and they don't even go to the website. They go into their WhatsApp list, and there you go, there's an organization, right, let's chat with them, and they complete the transaction entirely in a WhatsApp window. So that's where we see the future heading a year or two from now. So absolutely.
Brilliant, thanks. Hope that answers your questions there, Dan. I've got another one from Michelle, and I guess this is more aimed towards Dave. What has been your biggest surprise during your time using Virtual Agent?
Yeah, so I probably referenced it already, but I think the biggest surprise was probably the concierge implementation of the virtual assistant. So I think what we probably didn't expect, we expected that we'd see some benefit at both the customer journey and kind of deflecting unnecessary chats. But yes, we didn't expect the uplift in interactions on that page. We didn't think that customers would kind of see that as a much nicer or better way to interact with us than maybe web chat. So yeah, that uplift of around 250% on interactions was certainly one of the bigger surprises that we've seen since we've gone live with the virtual assistant.
Brilliant, thank you. And I've got another question from Jess. How has the contact center adapted to the VA?
I think they've adapted really well. I mean, I guess that, yeah, so it's interesting because I think it's changed the profile of some of the queries that we get through. There's still a significant proportion of customers that obviously ring us, but if we look at the kind of web chat channel specifically, what we find is that we're trying to triage and kind of filter out those easy questions, ones where we don't add any value or need to speak to the customer, or it's a really easy response. And what that kind of means is that what's left and what the consultant then kind of gets passed as a result of the VA handing a conversation across, they tend to be more, I guess, complex, but certainly more value adding. So yeah, the profile of some of the kind of conversations that the consultants are having is changed, and I think on the whole that's gone down really well. I think they like to remove the ones that aren't necessarily a useful I think it's changed the profile, but our call centers probably embraced that.
And I think when we've talked with other organisations, I don't think we've talked about this yet, Dave, but with other organisations, what they've told us in particular about the web chat channel is, after introduction of the virtual agent, average handling time's actually gone up in the web chat channel because the queries are more complex, and things like your standard customer satisfaction metrics, NPS, first contact resolution, those have taken a hit in other organizations because, as Dave says, the mix of chats coming in has changed. So on one hand, we're doing something great, but it's just we're taking out all those easy ones with the super high NPS, super high CSAT, and it leaves all the ones where maybe there's a complaint or something complex which can't be resolved first time. So it's just one of these things to be aware of. And if you're working in the contact center as an ops manager or working with them, then just be aware that these kind of metrics will shift and not in the direction you would normally want them to go. But that's not a bad thing here. It's just the way that the shifting mix changes things.
Fantastic. And I've got a question from Jacob. Jacob is asking, what is needed to deploy the bot on a specific web page? So some of his subsites are hosted by third parties. Does he need a separate development for each?
Generally, no. So it's very easy to deploy. It's a few lines of code that you put on a website, and so a few lines of code to deploy on the website, and then depending on which particular page the user comes in on, then we can act differently. So let's say you've got page one hosted by one supplier, and that's like a sales journey, for example, then it's the same deployment methodology for each, so it's the same set of code. Some organizations are even using things like tag managers, so Google Tag Manager, Adobe Tag Manager, to deploy these types of things. So it's kind of put it into the Tag Manager once, and then that goes across the sites as well. So there's lots of different tricks, but essentially it's the same code. It's very easy, and the only thing that changes is the strategy based upon what page the user has launched it from. I hope that helps, Jacob.
Fantastic. And I've got one from Michael. This is more aimed towards Dave, I believe. Have you been able to convince customers to shift from voice to web and automated channels?
Yeah, we have, and I think we've always we've identified that there's a customer demand to serve online customers these days. I think customers' appetite is changing, and there is very much an appetite for customers to self-serve online. So yeah, I think we've been on a journey to kind of enable that to happen, almost, to make sure we've got the functionality to allow customers to self-serve online, which includes using the virtual assistant to support with answering queries or directing those customers to self-serve options. So yeah, I mean, some of the numbers we see within the virtual assistant, customers who are happy to kind of interact with the virtual assistant, the number of customers that kind of are happy to receive a response and kind of be directed in the appropriate place, versus the customers that are kind of adamant and kind of want a phone number. It's all looking good, and actually we do see customers are happy to kind of use our online functionality. I think we always want to kind of, well, yeah, I guess we're keen to kind of continue to build that and kind of make more, direct more customers to the online journey, but only where appropriate. And I think we've got some way to go on that journey, but yeah, we're kind of doing well, and we're seeing that customers are kind of taking up our self-serve options and interacting with the virtual assistant. So it's going well from that perspective.
The other thing for me, I'll just add on that one, is when I was a kid growing up, I remember the Direct Line adverts, and it was the red telephone and give us a call, that kind of thing. So, and it was all very much phone based. But I think the world is changing. Everybody's got a smartphone. People are getting older, and the majority of the demographic is a younger demographic, quite comfortable with smartphones, the internet, web browsers, and so on. So I think in terms of a channel shift, then there's also that element of, well, people don't like to make phone calls so much these days. People are busy. They've got social events, kids doing different things, and they don't have time to make the phone call. But they've always got time on their smartphone or on the computer, or even when they're meant to be working, sorting out their insurance or buying something. It's very easy to do. So there's that natural evolution in customer behavior from picking up the phone to, well, I want to do something on a website or on the internet, because that's how we do things these days. Certainly, I know the last couple of car insurance policies I bought from my smartphone. Last time I renewed my insurance, house insurance, with Direct Line, I actually went and used their virtual agent, found it very useful too. And so that's just me. It's all smartphone driven these days as well. But as Dave says, if a customer does want to make a phone call, that's cool as well. But there is that shift in behaviour that we're seeing amongst the most of the demographic.
Great, and I've got another question aimed towards you as well, Dave. This is from Oliver. Are you able to share any details on the return on investment you are seeing? A little cheeky question.
I certainly can't share any numbers, but I guess yeah, we're definitely seeing a benefit, and I think I've kind of said it before, but the benefit for us is twofold. It's improving the customer journey, and that's really, really important for us here. But yeah, we are seeing some benefit from a business perspective as well. We are able to really remove the kind of the contacts of those customers where actually we can support them to self-serve online. And again, that's not customers that want to speak to us. It's those customers that aren't necessarily aware of the ability for them to self-serve and really signposting that. And that has a benefit to enable us to I guess reduce the number of web chats or calls that we get in, and yeah, we are seeing a significant, I was going to say, reduction in the number of calls and web chats. It enables, it's enabling the value-added conversations to get to the consultant. So it allows us to have the right conversations and to kind of from that perspective, we're seeing some benefit to speaking to the right people.
Thank you. And I guess, sorry guys, this is going to have to be the last question. I can see quite a lot of questions coming through, so thank you. But this is from Adam. Adam is asking, can the VA move the information gathered in the web chat channel so that agents have a clearer view of customer query prior to initiating the conversations?
Yeah, absolutely. That's very much out of the box functionality. We've done that with Direct Line. We've done that with other organisations as well. And what we do is the actual conversation is shared with the agent, the human agent, so they can see what's happened from A to B to C and so on. In other examples, then we've actually got it linked up with customer CRM systems and ticketing systems so that the conversation as a whole gets logged as an interaction in the same way that a web chat or a letter or a phone call would get logged as well. So that's something that we always aim to do out of the box. It's a key part of making it work, because it's not just a channel that's isolated on its own. It's very much, well, the virtual agent, it's an operational tool. You wouldn't have a human agent sat there doing a chat and not logging something on the CRM system. So we see it exactly the same. When we treat the virtual agent as just another agent, she has to behave the same way.
Great, and I'm actually going to be naughty and squeeze one more in because Dave, you seem to be really popular. The questions are coming towards you. Right, this is directed to Dave. Do you have any customer feedback metrics that customers use, but do they like it?
We do, yeah. So we capture feedback in a number of ways. I think that there are some metrics within the tool we use, and we kind of see how customers kind of respond to the responses that we surface for them. You know, that's I guess a little bit hit and miss, because it depends on the response. Sometimes we direct customers to a different place, so often it's difficult to really benchmark those ones. But we do survey customers. We do ask them about their feedback. We try and gauge their how their experience has been with the virtual assistant, and you know, if we send them off to another channel to kind of make a change within the online portal, again, we'll kind of come back to them and ask their thoughts on the virtual assistant and how that was for them. So yeah, we take every opportunity to kind of gauge customer feedback, and then we kind of look to act on that. But I think the feedback on the whole at the minute has been pretty positive. I think customers are pretty happy to interact with it and like it. And of course, any feedback we get, we try and look to see whether we can further optimize the responses that we're putting out within the solution.
Thanks. So yeah, thank you guys. This is all the time we actually do have now for questions. Any questions we haven't answered, we will get in touch with you directly, and we'll be happy to answer them after this webinar. Again, please join us again on the 17th of March for our Disrupt CX 2020 event at the brewery. I hope you have the rest of your day will be really great and enjoyable day. Thank you.